Tactics Ogre Reborn is based on Tactics Ogre Let Us Cling Together. It's a Super Famicom strategy RPG. Understand something, this game is held in extreme high regard for many reasons, all of which I'm going to delve into. For its time, the complex job system and party building in this title offers endless customization, and the strategic battles were as deep as the Mariana Trench, I kid you not. To the point, before there was Final Fantasy Tactics, there was Ogre Battle Saga. It's a series of strategy RPGs made by Quest. Misumi Matsuno, this G, was largely responsible for its game's design, and he was so talented that Hironobu Sakaguchi, this guy personally headhunted him to leave Quest, leave it, and join Squaresoft. Now that's just top G shit. Quest was eventually acquired by Square Enix, and with the Ogre Battle games in its portfolio, Let Us Cling Together would get an enhanced PSP remake. So now it looks like it's time for Tactics Ogre to get another re-release, and with Yasumi Matsuno's involvement, I see where it's going. So this new revision promises to be the most refined and improved iteration yet. And I'm going to tell you exactly how in this Tactics Ogre Reborn review. Lovers of Final Fantasy Tactics will find that there is a lot of overlap with Tactics Ogre Reborn, not just in the strategy RPG gameplay, but in the story too. Just like its PlayStation spiritual successor, the narrative centers on several elite families and their machinations to seize the highest echelon and the highest height of power. We all know it's the throne. Now, if you've played Final Fantasy Tactics, be prepared to be hit with overwhelming familiarity. Tactics Ogre came first, and seeing how many of the ideas that Matsuno tried early on, it shows how mature and how confident his ideas stood to the test of time. There are a lot of characters, and every single one of them is complex and have issues and are conflicted. What makes Tactics Ogre Reborn story so special is how you, the player, can affect the story with your choices. Matsuno's stories tend to revolve around elites fighting for power, and you, the player, assume the role of an idealistic youth. The situation is never black or white, and the events unfold where you aren't going to have all the information on you on your first playthrough, no matter how perspicacious you may consider yourself to be. Whenever Danon, the low-born and humble protagonist, interacts with these esteemed dignitaries, there is always tension in the scene. It always feels like characters speak in layers and everyone's not always being very forthcoming. Class warfare is one of the main pillars of Tactics Ogre Reborn, and it is executed with style and maturity. Danon interacts with other warriors, atmosphere of the scenes change as if the conflict is inevitable. Nobody wants to fight, but they must because of a real shadowy cabal pulling the strings from behind the scenes. Not much different from our own Matrix this very day. Tactics Ogre's Reborn story, I'll call it for what it is. It's a timeless tale that applies today as it did thousands of years ago. That's how we know the good and the bad and the ups and the downs in some format. The web of political intrigue becomes more elaborate, and the player's going to always be faced with stark game-changing choices. You have to make a decision. Danon will be pushed to make unfathomable sacrifices or choose a side that may be conflicting with your morals. No matter the route, it's always a fundamentally different experience. Now you get to be a little like me and travel to different sides of the world and experience scenes that possibly you'd never have, depending on your actions. This makes Tactics Ogre Reborn feel very organic and alive in a way that most games end up feeling mechanical. Depending on the player's decisions, in key story points, the plot can go in different directions where foes become friends and vice versa. It's like life, where the people you fight are not always your enemy, and the people who help you are not always your friend. Entire party members can get locked out, and if some guest party members fall in battle and die, they can also affect how the story's direction goes. It is shocking how Tactics Ogre is a game that is much older than Final Fantasy Tactics, and yet it is more advanced and deeper of a game. Whether Tactics Ogre Reborn story is greater or lesser than Final Fantasy Tactics is a matter of preference. One thing is for sure, there is no denying that Ogre gameplay is far more complex. Most battles allow around 10 units and sometimes more. Each unit can be either player-created or a unique story-related character. Regardless of what kind of characters gamers will fill their ranks, expect to agonize over every single one of them. You must be detail-oriented. The depth of customization is seemingly infinite. The jobs have their own innate talents that make each one very useful. Every job class gets bespoke abilities, and these abilities can be swapped around between class changes. Expect to spend a lot of time in the party setup menu and tinkering with all the possibilities. Always be planning for the future, deciding how to further build a character and which abilities or gear to equip them with is a major pillar of Tactics Ogre Reborn experience. Battles themselves play out in a grid-based field that resembles a miniature diorama. Unit turns are decided on a queue system, and their speed stack. Want more turns? Then you better specialize in speed efficiency. This, in my opinion, is the true decider of victory. Classes like ninjas and kunoichis are unmatched in speed. Make note, speed is your friend. Speed wins. There are countless variables to keep in mind when deploying a team. Factors, like a character's innate elements, can affect how much damage they give or receive. Even the terrain of the environment can have consequences if you don't pay attention. Some abilities are automatically used after they are learned and are tied up to an unseen dice roll. There are always ways to tip the odds in your favor. You just have to keep your eyes open. The newly added randomization introduces an extra element of anticipation, so always be ready, because elements like this can vastly change the tide of battle, and the randomly appearing cards on the field can further assist in evening the odds for or against the player. And if it's against the player, you know you don't want that. So keep everything in your control. The kinds of weapons used on units and specific classes matter as well, so gamers must have a varied party, or some for backup. Again, always be ready for anything. Very important, you never know when a party of heavily armored knights want to do battle, and what happens when nobody has any bolt weapons to smash through their plate mail. You'll be running into some big problems quick. Don't let that happen. Be prepared. As Tactics Ogre Reborn unfolds, it only gets deeper the more you play it. The elaborate political theater is full of emotional characters. Consider the endless intricacies of gameplay as well. It's rare to discover a finer example of its kind. The music is a top form for Hitoshi Sakamoto, and even this early in his career, he displayed complete mastery and confidence in his style. Tactics Ogre Reborn's score feels almost cinematic. It even has some hits of Jerry Goldsmith, and the way the music blends into the scene utterly heightens the emotions in the battles. There is almost a tragic poetry to it all. Tactics Ogre Reborn's visuals are based on the PSP remake. The environments are 3D and have chunky pixel art textures applied to the geometry. It's a timeless style that fits the tactical gameplay very well, and it makes every space readable. It's too bad that the character sprites have not been updated. For the most part, the sprites resemble the same ones used since the Super Famicom, but with higher density of pixel gradients. They are very small and stubby, and there isn't enough range for these little guys to express much body language. Redraws like the ones done in Live Alive would have been preferred. Tactics Ogre Reborn's story could have been benefited from improved sprites, because now the voice acting has to carry the scenes when the drama intensifies. If you're a Final Fantasy Tactics fan, you owe it to yourself to play Tactics Ogre Reborn. If you are a Tactics Ogre veteran from the Super Famicom or PSP, you're going to get a unique experience since the entire game has been rebalanced and tweaked so much that it's a different experience altogether now. Changes were done to improve worthless classes and to make battles fairer. The union level mechanic is to prevent overgrinding. Battles are no longer random, and money is hard to acquire. To not be a brokey will be hard work to accomplish. It is too bad the rogue class is no longer obtainable, since its abilities have been spread around to other classes. Tactics Ogre Reborn is a perfect strategy RPG. It mostly improves upon the original, though it is sad that there isn't an original mode so players can experience how the game used to be. The sprites won't impress, but after dumping over 100 hours into pouring so much attention into building these characters, you will hardly care. This review caps off 2022 as we hustle into 2023. Get money in and win every battle. We'll see you there. Happy New Year.